G'day. It looks like we're live streaming now. I hope everyone's having an amazing day. I just want to introduce our beautiful Jules Allan. Jules, are you able to share a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is my first live stream ever on Facebook, so hello everyone. When Liz asked me to, say a little bit about myself, I can tell you now, immediately that comes up for me is I always say, I'm not my bio, right? Look at my age. I've obviously done a little bit to be still alive in this arena. On a business level, I've done executive mentoring as primarily focused on spiritual mentoring. For the last nearly 30 years, I've been involved with natural therapies for 30 years. I haven't put a pharmaceutical in my body, literally, for 30 years. And whereas prior to that, it was a totally different arena. With all the personal development I did in the first half of my life, which was sort of the early 20s, running money markets, in leadership role, and all the personal development that went along with that, and the developmental training. This is before the current training.gov. We used to do high level training, and it's starting to have another resurgence. So I was involved in learning organizations, systems thinking, systems development. I've done a lot with MIT and presencing, with all their U labs and that over the years, in the last 15 years. So having said that, in the middle of that, I also had children. So I had 2 sons and a dedication to what education. So I actually chose the Steiner education to take them through as well. Now, amongst all of that is this, philosophy for life that we ask ourselves along the way and what they are. And there's not really many programs that I haven't done, or I'm quite fearless when it comes to emotional development, maturation of the psyche, spiritual growth, spiritual pause, and being this generation that I am, I'm the tail end of the boomers, and I'm the start of the crossover generation, which can be misunderstood generation. The generation that says the buck stops here. We're not our genetics, we're not our DNA, we are more than that. We can do anything. We don't have to do what the parents said we had to do. So we were the start of doing that. Now, when you decide to cross over, and I did it literally my life, left brain, early years, studied while doing money market. I also studied up to level 3 sports medicine trainer, extremely fit, all about the body, all about the physical, as an emotional development, but didn't have the spiritual, I suppose, embrace around that. So the breath work came in the 30 years ago, and all that capability, which helped facilitate the healing of asthma, eczema, hay fever, every allergy known to man, and I have none of them now. So yeah. So what you see here is a very natural person. I'm very open, and the person I present here is not a mask. That's all the personal development I did is to remove those masks. So the more natural and the more honest we can be with what's presenting from within is where I take I don't call it coaching, specifically because there's not necessarily a set system. We do mentoring. For many, we use natural gifts, and the natural gifts are not head-based. So it's not about personality, psychometrics, or talents. These are the gifts that, when we're in the core element of them, they live at the seat of our soul. And when we're in the core elements of the gifts, we're operating from a very natural flow. And that in itself is a task to help people take out these models that they're used to going, oh, it's part of the MBTI sort of stuff. It's all part of that. And where it's not, it's not something that puts you in a compartment saying you're in that quadrant, you're in that quadrant, you're in that box, you're in that box. So all of our work is about freedom. All of our work is about, the first sort of stage of that is about sovereignty. And the first start of that, which is something that's really come to earth, you asked me earlier, is there, something that, whether it be a service or whatever, mentoring is very primary of our work. Yes. The second aspect that sits alone, but is also in the late, this is showing my age, but in the late 1990s, I beg your pardon, the late 1990s, I developed while I was training in vibrational kinesiology, and learning so much more about EMFs and grounding and all, Tai Chi, martial arts. I did Aikido, meditation, was all of those things really, really live, many, many years of yoga. So I created my own modality, which is my own internal system, which is called Earthpoint, and is now surfaced. We've done our first public container just before Christmas, and we finished 2 nights ago with the first container and group.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it was the world that asked it to come through, right? I've always done it, not specifically with every single client. It's as it's been called for. The recognition is that is the thing that has kept my immune system really empowered. And I'm often asked, I'm sure you can get a sense, there's an energy. I have this aliveness about me. And I'm often asked, where do I get my energy from? And I go, well, it's everywhere, right? It's just everywhere. And Earthpoint is the core place. So I don't have to think about grounding. I'm in that place. And so it's this way of taking the all of that consciousness work, defragging neuroscience, all of those sort of things. We take it, grab the heart's intelligence as well, all the emotional intelligence capabilities, and we take it into a really deep place, connecting it with our nature self, that which is connected with nature. So there's a process I take people through that to but at birth. So we are born at a specific time and geographical place. So we use that and we bring it into the now, so that's always connected. You never have to go back to birth. It's not a rebirthing, nothing to do with past life. This is about this place inside you that is unimpeachable. No one can threaten it. It is solid, and it's this connection with God, with source and with God. You asked earlier for prayer, okay? So if people are really connected with God, or their Christian faith or whatever, they'll have a greater connection with it. For those who will use universal energies and in conjunction, there's no hard, fast rule, they'll start to move outwards. Whereas a lot of consciousness works takes you out of the head. So you're actually out. And while you're out, you're actually not conscious of anything that's in your current sphere. So all of our work is about being connected with that which is presenting from the future. So this is all of these emergent strategies and emergence capabilities. So Earthpoint is the containers that we're bringing through, and mentoring's the core that we do alongside that. They go hand in hand. And the other thing that we do, which is very, very unique, is all of our learning models, we call it biodynamic learning. And have you heard of biodynamics before, Liz?
I've heard of it. Are you able to share more detail about it?
Sure. It's often called a woo-woo sort of agriculture. So, brought through by Rudolf Steiner primarily and their cohorts. This is all connected also with the presencing work underneath MIT as well. So biodynamics, organic gardening, the idea of no sprays, health of the plant, mulching around the edge, things like that. The permaculture, same thing. Permaculture is an integrated, this is sustainability on way beyond. Okay. It was really, really ahead of its time. And I can talk about the woo-woo stuff in a minute, but more importantly, like permaculture, where it's an integrative system, and even though permaculture and organic garden may plant with the moon and the stars, Rudolf Steiner takes it one step further. So for example, if there's cattle or dairy cattle, for example, on the earth or on the particular farm, the farm's not for the cattle. The farm is there so that they can use the cow poo, that they put in cattle horn, and they plant it in winter, and the forces of the earth in winter draw, which happens, we go inward. In winter, we go inward. So it draws that manure, and it draws it inwards, and then in spring they unearth it and it comes out as a ball. And what has happened, and this is a pure regenerative system, so the cows, or the pigs and whatever they were chewing as well, the cows are eating the grass from that property. They've done the poo, you know, it's gone through 4 chambers of processing, you know, and it's why it's the cow, not the deer, and then why it's the cow horn is another study in itself. So now that ball is called a preparation, and there's more than one preparation throughout the year, but every season's that preparation then gets, so look, imagine the horn is like a spiral, so it spirals down into the earth.
Yeah.
And then there's these processes, and you will recognize this similar across to coaching as well. So then there's these processes to unspiral, right? Unspiral. And then in a spiral formation, it gets sprinkled on the earth. So over a number of years, so biodynamics is all about the health of the soil.
Yeah.
Right? It's not so much the health of the plant. Now, what it means is if there's a healthy soil, you actually don't have to mulch too much. Right? Because the healthy soil, the stronger, the deeper the taproot into the earth, the stronger. So you'll see, even on, I sound like I'm knocking organics, and I don't mean to, right? It's just showing this one step further. Pardon me, I'll just turn that noise off. It's just taking it one step further on organic. So it is organic, and this one step further. It means that anything that comes from a biodynamic farm is incredibly earthed. It has not just a relationship with the earth, it has a relationship with the earth and the stars. It is this connection with stardust, which is humanity, right? We are born of carbon, you know, like we are born of the earth, but the earth is stardust initially, right? So we're born of the earth, but we incarnate from the stars. Okay, so there's a part of us. So all of our mentoring is around that. So this biodynamic model is integrative in our work. So we use that whole model where we help people come, you know, balance masculine and feminine. So irrespective of whether I might be presenting as a woman, am I? You know, am I really? You know, and but it's about being a balanced human being. And in order to do that, the soils inside us, the waters need to be flowing well, the pipes, you know, all the pipes need to be clean. So biodynamics model is very, very rich. So I did it on my property.
Yeah.
And this was after seeing a very old ABC program that I watched on BCR. So that's how old it was. And they showed Australian farmers, little cow cockies that you would never know. You would never, ever imagine they're going like, we don't tell anybody we're doing this. And they showed there was a rice farmer, cattle farmer, or agriculture. So that was the 3 I remember. And they showed they left one paddock normal, how it would normally be treated, and the other paddock biodynamic. And they are just chalk and cheese. They just, you know, one was dry, dying hard, it had to work hard waiting for rainfall. The other one, it didn't matter. It didn't even matter if there wasn't any rainfall. And an example is, and then they dug down. So in order, normal soil's probably really nourishing to about sort of that deep. And what am I saying? That's about 30 centimeters. You dig down 2 feet. You know, sorry, 2 feet, so 60 centimeters on a biodynamic farm, and you still haven't even got to the hard stuff. It's rich in liveness and organisms, which means all of these little mycelium. Do you know what mycelium are?
No.
Okay, this is relevant to our work, by the way, which is why I'm sharing it. So the mycelium are those little white threads. Okay, so people who talk about mushrooms and fungi will understand what these when you dig up soil that's really, really rich, you'll see all these little white threads, and some people might think they're roots, but what they are is the communicators of the earth. It's the fungi, mycelium, and they vibrate. So when something's happening at one tree, these little white threads are all over the plants, and the healthier that is, the better. The health, you know, there's lots of parasites in there and lots of things that talk, not in a negative, like in our body. We need it in a healthy environment. So, and they talk to each other. So if one plant's not doing well, they, you know, and they talk to the other plant and the other plant, and so that plant then sends health to the one that's not as healthy. It's extraordinary, beautiful system.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah. So our Earthpoint facilitation, and we've been invited to, well, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to create sessional facilitators this year. So I won't be the only facilitator. Yes, I'm the creator of it, but we will have more facilitators because I'll be able to show the Aikido brought in the kinesiology, I brought in the healing protocols that happen naturally, and as well as people bringing in their own flavour, you know, their own richness, because that's the connection. You have your richness with people that you're working with, me, myself, right? There might be some people that wouldn't like me at all, right? And that's fine. Right? That's not what we're meant to do. We're meant to be this lovely ecosystem that this one nourishes that one. And 9 times out of 10, that person might meet me 12 months later and go, oh, you're not who I thought you were, you know, and it doesn't matter, you know, and this, so the more that we develop as a humanity, Earthpoint's been called forward. Well, it's been called for in the last 2 years, which is why I was doing it behind the scenes more regularly in the last 2 years, and have decided to bring it publicly because there's too much trauma in people's heads. And part of me saying using the word trauma because people have heard me saying not everybody has to do trauma work, and I still believe that. We do not necessarily, every single human being on this earth does not have to heal trauma. They just need to understand it is what it is, it was what it was, and how to be here now. Now, sometimes that's a transformational pathway and they'll go into process work and stay there. And other times they'll be changing lanes and do the work we do, which is transcendental leadership. So the mentoring is transcendental leadership. And we just help people recognize when we're in a transformational pathway and when we're in a transcendental pathway. One's definitely more faster, more efficient and more capable, but they will both still achieve at the same result. Just one is more accelerated and requires more openness, more availability, more, and it requires the openness of the heart. That's not the heart. The openness of that awareness, right? This awareness, I'm aware as I'm talking, right? The openness of the mind, the heart, and a freed will. And as we know, the entrepreneurial capability, which everybody will be seeing on Facebook a lot, you know, is let's just run with it. They've got the mental ideas and we've figured it out. They've got the system figured it out financially, and we'll put it straight into our will, but have not dealt with the rhythmic system, that place that lives in the middle realm. And so it's not sustainable. They'll burn out. Look at my age. I understand all that stuff. So I'm here to help facilitate regenerative capabilities. So how to, in a resource, you still go to the beach, but you don't have to, because there's a lot of people that don't have access to the beach. It's a real privilege to say, go to the beach or go to the earth and ground yourself. Some people live in their buildings 24/7. So, you know, that's, who are we to say it has to be done that way? So the way we look at it is we have our nature self, our evolution. The biggest thing we bring in is people's spirit self. And we help that incarnate. So they literally, there's a lot of people who have done a lot of work now that understand that they're spiritual beings having a human experience, but they're still sitting in this humanness. It's connected with finances, connected with that place. So what we do is we just help bring in a greater maturity of the psyche, holding yourself better, more kindly, more calmly, with more capabilities. And we help this breathe. So the spirit self is able to take over when required, because spirit self is never able to incarnate. It just stays out there, right? It needs us, as you know. God needs you to co-create with God. In order for you to bring the light through, you are here as a co-creator. But if you stand there and say, I am Liz and I am the co-creator, it's not going to happen. You're going to stay in your ego and you're going to burn out. So we help people learn to get out of the way and just play with it and let this play. And it's a lot easier and a lot more fun. So that's a really, really long answer to share a little bit about me and the work that we do.
That's awesome. And it sounds like, pretty much to sum it all up, it all comes back down to foundations. Like a stitch in time, like the foundations of what we already innately have access to, and purifying that even more and creating it to be more biodiversity available and like as pure as it can be, because eradicating the EMFs and no, I don't want to say eradicating, stabilizing or homeostating, I think it comes back to foundations, right? And you utilize a lot of foundations through, you spoke about breath work and farming, because that's where we get our nutrition from, and to have homeostasis within our bodies, not only with our second brain, with our gut flora, with the microbiome and all of that. It needs to be at a beautiful balance, so then we're able to be within a healthy weight range, so we're able to have a release of all of the chemicals and hormones that connect us to our brain, our heart, and our gut. So I love everything that you've spoken about. And the word that kept coming through was foundations.
Yeah.
Foundation.
Yeah. Which is why Earthpoints come through to be offered publicly, as opposed to just something that's done with mentoring clients, because this ability, it's more than the ability, it's to recognize. Let me just go back for a minute. There's about 5 different threads popping in right now. I can go that pathway, that one. I'm going to start with the body. Okay, so it you can't see, but I'm not slim in any way whatsoever. I'm on the scales, what would be called an unhealthy weight, but I am the healthiest. I have tests all the time, right? I'm the healthiest. I'm the more capable. I'm the more loving. It's a privilege to be me. Absolute privilege to be me. Far more than I was when I was a size 8. I was the fittest. I was within the healthy range. I ate the right food. I still eat the right food. And I also eat not right food, and that's okay, right? Well, I said earlier, it's about keeping those pipes clear. It's about having this understanding with the body that you are listening at a particular capability, that you have an integrative, deep understanding, as you were saying about foundation. And this is not a mental understanding. This is a deep, intimate relationship, and an understanding of that relationship with that being, that beingness that is you from the depth of who you are. Okay. Ego fights that tooth and nail. That left brain that loves the transformational stuff and loves the processing work and goes, yeah, but I do Reiki and I do, hey, I've done it all, right? And the ability to say none of it matters right now, just be at the basics, so that the more that work is practiced, the more it is worked, then your body has this memory of the, I'm not going to say the right biological words right now. I'm in the process of typing it all up for Earthpoint, so people understand why we do it, why it moves from being just a modality and a tool that someone uses every now and then, that becomes core foundation. It's actually called a foundational stabilizer. So we literally stabilize. It's our connection with Earthpoint, and it doesn't get rocked. So even if there's an emotional trigger or something happen, you can immediately go, foundation's not rocked. It just doesn't, it's not on sand, it's not on rock, it has this amazing connection with the earth that it's never had before. And you can hear me say it, right? So it's not something that's Julie that's owned. It's my symbiotic relationship with nature. And that just resources all the time, and it's available.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, very foundation. And we need it, because there's enough mental stuff and AI telling we need gadgets, we need machines to tell us that we've got our hearts coherent. Well, I'm going to say, no, we don't enough, right? Do them, absolutely. I've got 2 sons. They know that they know I've said this when they were young, right? And they're the millennials, right? And I said, you can use the technology, you can play the games, but not become the games. The minute you have lost your awareness, then you've lost your awareness and become that game, then you are a product of that corporate entity that has created that game. You are a product of Meta. You are a product of Facebook. You're a product, Meta's Facebook and Insta, right? You are a product. All their job is to make money. Don't think for 1 minute that someone that's created a game and it's AI, that they've done it with your interest and heart. No, they haven't. They might think they have, but if they haven't, the ability to have AI and keep it for what it is, but build the trust inside yourself. So I'm here to help that, right? I'm here to actually help people recognize, sure, wear something that tells you your heart rate's at a certain thing or at a certain point, or it's doing the right thing. And sure, if you need it medically, that's a different thing, right? But generally, no. Because that's saying, I'm not capable of being with Earth's time. I'm not capable of knowing when I'm really at peace and when I'm really in a coherent space with Liz. If I've got to go, oh, where's my machine? Where's my little gadget? Oh, I haven't got my gadget on. Just that behavior, what I just demonstrate, this is not real, by the way, but what I demonstrated, people recognize. I'm immediately, my breath's up here, I'll go, oh. So I've gone, oh. So I've taken in trauma.
Yeah, yeah. It becomes part of their identity.
Yeah.
Like I just took my watch off then because I got this to track my steps, 10,000 steps with my personal trainer. She's amazing. But when I went to like a chiropractor who trained in NET and kinesiology and all those types of things, very high end, should have done medicine. I mean, that is a form to me of medicine, naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
She just did a test on it, and whatever's in these watches, and okay, don't quote me, this is just my own opinion, it was not allowing the blood circulation to come down that point of my body in the way that it needed to because of the
meridians are there.
Yeah, the blockage of the electronics. So it can become a habit, and people are like, I need this so I can check the time, so I can talk on my watch. We didn't need to do that 30 years ago. Most people lived on farms, are a lot happier. The kids were a lot happier and more focused because of the nutritional value they're getting from the soil, and being homeschooled or schooled in healthy schools and stuff. But these watches are not good. So I'm looking to get a pedometer next, like an old school pedometer. I went to all the pharmacists and natural pharmacists and I couldn't find one because a lot of the people are selling these because they make money, right? More money.
Yeah, and also they're integrative, right? They're integrated. Yeah. And that's the recognition of knowing that, you know, and this can be the danger of natural therapies as well, right? So, or even coaching, right? If anybody's doing coaching training, right? They're looking, I'm not saying you, but people are looking, the old model is, you know, find a niche, find a problem, fix the problem. You will 99% of the time never ever hear that of me. Right? Because I don't see people as broken. You're not broken. Come, I see potential and I help you start see what you're already doing, what you already do well. And, you know, like no one taught you how to walk. You have a God connection, right? So you had that little baby has a connection with knowing how to stand upright. It's innate in you. And that's a system. It's a system in itself. And so one thing I said to my sons when they turned 21 or even finished high school, I said, hey, you got it all, right? Don't let anyone tell you have to learn anything else. You've got this system. It's a sense of completion and you've gone through cycles, and it's the recognition of observing what you're repeating. And once you're able to do that, it's easily able to be remedied, or not so much fixed, but remedied if it's not serving you very well, or learning to say that doesn't work anymore, I'll do something different, right? Because obviously it's for horses for courses and changes as this, with the seasons and as we grow. So yeah, I remember saying a couple of years ago, I haven't been too rocked in the last few years because it didn't affect my health. That, you know what I mean? Like my system's still the same. There's always been something around, and our body is capable of producing any illness, any disease, known and unknown to man. So this idea that science is going to figure it out is truly poppycock, right? I'd rather say other words, but that's the nicest word I could find, right? Is that it's not true. The science, good science, doesn't solve problems. Good science is an observation. It will just solve a part for this now. And a good scientist knows that. So that's why esoteric science is called a science, right? It's not guru stuff. Okay, it's the ability to be observing. So this spirit self, this ability of spirit self to sit at the edge of listening and to hear the echoes. So when we're in a quiet moment, what am I hearing? Am I hearing the last few words that I just said, or is my mind wandering else to somewhere else? And if I'm able to hear the last few words of what was just spoken in the voice of what it was received as. So if you're speaking, if I'm not able to hear the echo of those last 3 words, and that's what I'm watching for all the time, where am I in my capability? If I'm not hearing it, I'm now moving into my ego. If I'm hearing that, it means I'm available.
And that's true freedom.
True freedom. And it becomes a song, it becomes a symphony, you know. It's our company name is OPP Australia, which stands for Opportunity and Our Playful Planet. So we've got all these different themes around it, but essentially it's this ability to play without play theory, right? About us really creating humanity that is able to hold hands with each other where we are at that particular time. Not where we expect someone to be for us or for ourselves. Not at all. It can only be with what is. And the same thing of, if we hear someone go, oh, that's where you're at, stop it. Look at that hand. That's just so dismissive. Right?
Like in the Bible, it talks about, because I'll talk about Bible probably, but there's a verse in it. I don't know what part of the Bible it's in, but you know, when there's like a judgment of someone and they might say, oh, look at that person. But what they're not seeing is the plank within their own eye. And this whole idea around expectation, if you're expecting something from someone else outside of you externally or in relationships or relating with people, first expect that within yourself. That's what I'm constantly teaching my clients is, if you want the 6-pack, if you want good communication, if you want all of those things, you need to first communicate with yourself with love and accept every time you break a bit of glass on the ground, or every time you make a mistake, be kind and compassionate to yourself, like you would have and want your partner or person, workplace or school to have onto you. So we treat ourselves how we want to be treated, and we treat other people how they want to be treated, because they might be more of a words person and you might be more of an acts of service person. So when I just heard you hear that, I heard you say expectations. My partner Dan talks about expectations as, well, like I'm paraphrasing this, like we shouldn't expect anything from anyone, but how Dan says it quite often is we have the right, we reserve the right to change our mind at any given time. And if you're seeking something from outside of yourself, so that's one of the things that he says a lot, but if we're seeking something externally, like we're never going to get what we want. If you're looking outside for happiness and for love, it doesn't come externally. It comes inside our heart. So the spirit I see is like the Holy Spirit, right? So when we have the Holy Spirit come into our heart, it's the same as what Jules is speaking about, like there's that connection, because there's that acceptance of all of those parts, the parts of you that you might be like, oh, but those parts of me are imperfect. And what if I'm not loved for my past or my current or my this and that? Well, you're human, just as I am. And we're all on this journey of self-discovery and self-understanding constantly. And we can still love ourselves every step of the way. So yeah, I just thought I would add that in because it was just kept coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the ability of dialogue. The other thing there's 2 things that were coming through.
Yeah.
And I also suspended them, like they didn't have to be spoken. I would encourage people to get a piece of paper and write the word expectation down.
Yeah, I'm going to do that myself.
Okay. I'd write it at the bottom of the piece of paper, because you won't like what I'm going to suggest next if you write it word. You don't have to do this, by the way, but I can see Liz is ready to go.
Yeah,
all right. Okay. Rip it off.
Okay. Yeah.
Screw it up. Oh, no, screw it. Don't. Yeah, screw it up and throw it. Just throw it. That's my wit. Just toss it away.
Oh, wow. It went back in my lap.
Okay. No, get rid of it. Toss it away.
Went behind me.
If any expectation on yourself, your others, your goals, your dreams, guaranteed, this is where my age comes in, okay, and experience, guaranteed failure. You will set yourself up for disappointment. The only reason we get frustrated in the world, it's because we have an expectation. When you have, and please,
Rip that stuff off. This
yeah.
Take it off, because the expectation is not who you are.
That's right. It's not who you are. And with the language of, and we would hear this, you know, write it down, expect it to happen. I understand the wisdom of that language, but that word is not the value. The word is that, well, it doesn't mean the word, you can put other words, but write words from the future. If you write expect, it's going to come from your emotions and your desires and all of your unresolved baggage that has not been dealt with yet, right? It's going to come from that mixed up pile. Whereas if you're coming from a really empowered place, remember I said about leading from the emerging future, you connect with that future, God's light coming in. It comes from that out breath. Less focus on, and more attention to, and then quiet. Expand that quiet. When you expand that quiet, I've got a book coming out one day. I'm going to own this word right now, and it's called Field of Stillness. With the more that you expand that field of stillness, the words will come in that you wish to hear in that place, but more importantly, the next words that are not connected with you, that are coming from that higher calling, that future that is asking to be spoken, and you're the one that's hearing it at that particular point and time. And when you've got complete openness without expectation, you will also have enough experience in knowing that other people are hearing the same words. You're not the only ones hearing these words at this moment. And what a joy of connection when more and more and more people are hearing in this place of stillness. That is heart's coherence around the world. Then we're breathing out the right carbon dioxide. We're not dumping on nature, our trauma or our stuff. Pardon me using that word, our stuff. We're having this relationship. We're sending out decent carbon dioxide. And the plants go, thank you very much, right? And here's some goodness, right? But not because we're getting it back, because we know that's our care for the world and our care for humanity. And we do that by being balanced. I see that as like gratitude and prayer. Like, Dan and I, for the last 3 months, we do like a prayer, like at lunch or dinner time, and we do eye gazing. So literally text off the table, hands together, closing our eyes, we do prayer. And we just chat for half an hour while we eat, and we're eating slower, like we're thanking the food, thanking God, thanking each other, and just coming back to the now. And that's just something we've been practicing since like the end of October. So beautiful. About 3 months. So we're just going to keep doing that now as a practice. Congratulations. Thank you. I think it's a really good way to connect and come back to like breath and gratitude, prayer, all the things. And it's important in relationships, because I feel like a lot of people, and I could be generalizing, but from what I hear from my clients, a lot of them will be on the phones or not with their kids, not spending time with their partner because they're too exhausted after work. And I just allocate just half an hour morning in your morning routine, or half an hour of a nighttime routine, and just spend that time, whether that's reading a book, watching a movie together, having dinner together, with eye contact. It's whatever feels good for each family or partner or tribe, and making it work, because you want it to be easy so it can be consistent. But I just sort of add that in, because you said something about I was hearing gratitude come in, and I'm like, that makes sense, because when you said the carbon dioxide out to nature, and it's almost like a pure, it's like pure, I was going to say pure energy. It's like connection. It is pure energy. It is pure energy. This is this without using our head. If we go, I'm sending energy to the plant, you're actually not. You're playing an emotional game with yourself. You know, it's a brain. Oh gosh, my language is terrible. What's going on in my head right now? It's, you're screwing around in your mind. You're really not. You're playing games, and it takes that courage to initially to go, at first people make it heavy and they'll go, oh, look, I've made a mistake. And it's not about that. It's not about heaviness. It's about being able to laugh and go, oh, look what I just did, and laugh about it. Like, because that when we laugh, and people don't and this is not just for like laughter yoga is great, right? This is not forcing it. But when we truly laugh, when we're able to do that and see how ridiculous we're being in a moment, or how ludicrous what we just said sounded, right? How pressuring what that was just sounded in. And then what happens is we've instantly gone in, processed, and it's come out as laughter, which means it's already healed. So to actually then go and say, well, I'm going to write about this reflection, don't. It doesn't always need to be brought into this now until it needs to be brought into this now. Otherwise, we're just regurgitating. And one of the things clients will know about me is they'll say, I will let you luxuriate in it for a little while until I see you're indulging too much. So in other words, I'll go there with you and I'll just be with you. But the minute you indulge, I'll grab you by the collar and I'll pull you out, because I'm a fierce defender and protector of that innocent place, that place deep inside yourself, that God connection where in that breath, light goes in and permeates our whole being. It permeates the pituitary and pineal. It just lights us up. And the more that we're able to expand that, the more we're able to give each other permission and allow each other to be our best bright shiny selves, I usually say, and it's not being the best we can be, because hey, that's really good, like the best we can be is pretty damn good, and that's a pretty high expectation to put on ourselves, and all we're going to have is shooting, piles of shoot everywhere. So yeah, totally absolutely. So being held by yourself, this beautiful practice that you're doing with your partner, that ability of, and you don't even need to hold hands, right? So I'm very passionate about the 12 senses, quite a Steiner model. So, and the physical touch, we've been taught in 5 senses plus 1, right? The physical touch is also you feel the love of someone else, and it's not at all. The physical touch is a body thing. It's where our body ends and something else starts. And it's literally my being go, this finger finishes and this one starts, where we're making all of these vibrating molecules of energy that really are just energy into form. And you'll see it in babies, they will actually wriggle till the end of the cot. And and they do it at a certain stage. So their being is incarnating. It's actually starting to orientate without left brain thinking. It's starting to orientate itself on the planet and on the earth. So it has this experience. And so it's a very basic touch experience of earth, right? Of which we do from 0 to 7, age 0 to 7. There's 3 others in that the 4 senses we create and we connect with more and more. But that one is touch. And I loved this when I learned this and went, oh, it makes so much more sense. So what we feel lives in the rhythmic realm of our being, and it's part of the next 4 senses, and it's called warmth. So what we're feeling in the touch, in an inanimate subject, so object, when we touch a table, we're not feeling the warmth. But if we actually connect with a beingness of that table and move our fingers a bit further away, people might be doing it now, I am, a bit further away, they will start to sense the energy from their fingers to the table. That's warmth, right? It's not temperature. That's another sense. It's warmth. Remember I texted you about being hot today? I was actually introducing you to temperature sense. Being a Southeast Queenslander, everything go hand in hand. But what I shared with you earlier on the text came when I was in Dubai, and it naturally came through where I walked out. I was by myself, and I'd walked out. I was in the Gold Souk area in the inside air conditioning, freezing cold. The air conditioning was freezing cold, and then you go outside, dry heat. Oh no, humid as well, but hot. My body went from freezing cold to freezing hot. Fortunately, I'd done enough sweat lodges to know that the value of doing that as well. It can actually be good when you know how it can help you. But I remember going, and my mind speeded up. So I said to you, slow down your mind, right? And so I actually said, and how I got there is I went, think like a lizard. So I was walking around with an empty mind. Like all I saw was this lizard on a rock because they just lay, right? You know, being cold-blooded, we're warm-blooded. But I learned really fast. This is, oh gosh, I hate to tell you how many years ago I did that, right? But I learned really fast that because we will go, oh, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. We're speeding up heart rate, we're speeding up pulse, we're pumping more blood. We're only naturally going to increase the temperature sense and start to boil the waters from the inside. And they don't need to be, right? So getting more connected with that sweat that's, you know, coming out of the body and the hairs. That's starting to play with temperature sense, being aware of temperature sense in the body. And in order to do that, you must be out of your emotions. You must. It requires emotional intelligence. Not the part of us that goes, oh, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. So what are you doing to your thymus gland when you're doing this, right? Hot it, hot it, hot. What's it?
It's the stress response.
Yeah, push hormones, right? Push hormones in all the wrong directions. So we're actually interfering with the body's capability on dealing nature, its nature connection with the season of this moment.
Yeah, because it can our bodies can thermoregulate. Obviously, it depends if we're living in like Antarctica and things, but like
yeah. And animals, that's why they sit there with their mouth open.
Yeah.
They're letting the heat out of their mouth. They breathe through their nose. They don't go, right? They breathe through their nose and the heat comes out of their mouth. And the coolness, even there will be slight breeze somewhere that just touches the tongue, which cools the body down. So yeah, everybody's going to walk around going,
yeah, it was like
in the heat. Yeah. But it requires emotional capability to be, and all of those things are everything that you would be talking about, whichever way in coaching and we do in mentoring. You know, these are bringing all of these intelligences that are available to us as the maturity. And maturity has nothing to, I'm going to point this out really clearly, it has nothing to do with age, right? I have 22-year-old clients and I have 70-year-old clients. It's not an age thing. It's this willingness to learn to be more of what's being asked for at this particular moment. And it's more with less, right? And it could be more pause. Doesn't mean more activity, could be more pause. So less of this, more of that. So I'm just seeing a big yes.
Yeah, that's cool. And with the 5 leads that you were leading into after you spoke about the soil, like you mentioned the body, what were the other 4? Only if you...
Oh, I said there were 5 threads.
5 threads.
Okay. Oh, good spotting.
Yeah.
Okay, good spotting. I told Liz to be fearless with me. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so physical, the body is the last place things manifest.
Yeah.
It's called matter, right? Okay. In vibrational kinesiology, and I'm going to bring all different because they all sort of map across each other. Yeah. So I'm just going to talk the healing protocols. So healing protocols are spirit. So the highest is spiritual.
Yeah.
Then emotional.
Yeah.
Then environmental. And then physical, right? So we're still on bodily systems, but this is the healing protocols of body. So what that means is you can have the best diet, the best weight, the best of everything. But if what you're dealing with is emotional, doesn't mean diddly squat, right? If you can change. So we used the example before of you being really hot. And then people overheating and be getting heat stroke and things like that. And they'll go to the doctor and they say, oh, it's because it's the sun, blah, blah, blah. But that's environmental. So they need to do some environmental work. So what we discussed that a minute, we just discussed and shared this environmental connection with our temperature sense with our body.
And
now, beg your pardon?
And the 12 different senses.
Yeah, that's right. So and they have an integration, but essentially they work on 3 organizations: the nerve sense. Remember, we're talking about nerve health, so nerve senses, head and electrical systems and lymphatic as well. The rhythmic system, so that part of us that moves with flow, right? But also, this is this torso region as well. This is the age 7 to 14. where we start to get the feeling realm and we get to experience love outside our families for the first time, you know. So it's a really good time to bring in a dog or an animal, right, for boys. Pardon me sounding sexist here, but it's this region for it, for boys, and horses. So girls start loving horses around age 7 or 8 or 9, right? Because it's that, and it's what it is too, is it's also developing these cognitive capabilities that aren't supposed to be in until they're about 10. So with the current education, it's made to come in really, really soon. So entrepreneurial capability that says act now, say sorry later. Okay. So in other words, give it a go and go, oh, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. I'm not saying don't do that, but the recognition is connect more with the heart. I'll give more context around that. I've worked with business development and business mentoring for a very, very, very long time based on my history, and helped people make a lot of money, create lots of business systems. I'm, as part of my natural gifts go, systemization is not my highest, but I am a systems thinker, right? So it always has a play in some shape or form. So great ideas, great at creating ideas and using both parts of hemispheres of brain, and really, really loving and coming up with great business ideas. We all know there's not many business ideas that have never been created before, but they still come through, right? So really, really good at that. And they have an energy. Energy always changes shape and form. So it always has a beginning and an end, and it just becomes something else. So mind is energy. It will just become something else. So this story that comes in, it will become something else. We might distract it and run away from it because we haven't learned how to deal with something. So we run away and then create another story, right? And we've got layer upon layer. So knowing that energy will come to an end. I just lost my thread.
Yeah, you're just talking about like with business people and entrepreneurial people having this. Like,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So great at making ideas, but they wouldn't fizzle out. They would fizzle out. They'd go, oh, why'd they not go somewhere? I'd have governments lined up, I'd have lobbies lined up and money lined up and all sorts of things, but they never went somewhere, or they didn't even get that far, right? So, and I've been big on collaboration for a really, really, really long time. So, and co-creation. And then I recognized, so I was making it wrong initially. I went, no, it's not wrong. What is it? Okay. It excited my head. So it excited my being. This is the entrepreneurial spirit. Got this great idea. I'm going to run with it, right? The train's going, but they haven't consulted the heart at all, right? So it goes, runs out of path. They forgot to put the coal, you know, the warmth.
And the train comes back down. You know that.
Yeah.
Like, I can do it. I think I can do it. I know I can do it. I hope you're all laughing. It's like going up that thing and you're like, oh. And then it starts sliding back down and it's like, okay, we do need more coal.
Yeah, that's right. Whoops. Where was the heart of the engine driver right there? You know? He's going forward. He forgot to put the coal in, right? Stoke the coal. It's a whole system. So then I developed, so the minute I immediately did that. So because, you know, you will always get the wisdom of what to ask really fast. So don't mess around with that question. Just follow it, right? You just get it. So I ran, all right, well, I know the ideas really excite me. So, and so I don't ask these questions anymore, like literally out loud, but I did for a little while. I don't know how long before it became innate. And I would go, does it excite me? And I go, yeah, it does. You know, does it warm my heart? Oh, no. So I couldn't do it. Just wouldn't do it. Just wouldn't do it. The answer is no. If you want a sustainable capability, if the answer is no, don't do it. Simple. And once you get more practice at it, you just straight away, when you're, you know, connected deep within, those questions are automatically dealt with because you're consulting light, you're consulting truth, you're consulting the presence of the moment. And it's a really, really powerful way, which is why many clients who come to me are coaches, have big teams, not always have big teams, but they've done a lot of work, right? Because I'm not going to necessarily teach them anything new. I'm just going to go, and I'll go, oh, you're right. It was that simple, really, it was that simple, right? So, the old story, the painter, is a really good painter, a house painter, but he doesn't always paint his own house, right? So it's a really common, and that's the entrepreneurial downfall, right? So it'll learn an idea, but it hasn't necessarily got the life experience. I'm not talking about painting here because that's life experience.
Yeah.
But often the life experience doesn't match, but it doesn't even have to be life experience. It's just that heart's calling experience, which the heart's calling is connected with a higher calling, a higher plane, a higher I. It's connected with the future. It's not connected with your past.
Yeah, that's a good one. What I was thinking when you were speaking, it's like, you know, and I don't want to be sexist at all, like, but some of my male clients versus female,
yeah.
Like the men are more like, I think this way and I've got this plan and like this is the strategy, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then the women are like, I feel this way. So it's like with the men, it's more like connecting them to their emotions. Like, how do you feel about that? So otherwise, like, they'll be thinking a lot, most in a generalization, because some women are the same, but then a lot of the women are really more in their emotions. So it's allowing them to express, like both people express their emotions, and again, coming back to their heart. So it's balanced. That's a very simplified way of putting it, but the words that were coming through,
It is simple, Liz. It is simple. This is the whole point, is we've been taught it has to be all this research around it and it has to have this body of language around it. It is simple. I often will do a lot of talking. It's not surprising. You know, in fact, my first business was called Conversations with Julie, because I went, what am I really good at? And I went, I'm really good at talking.
Yeah.
May not be advice, but I'm really good at talking. So, you know, and so that's the whole thing. Really ask yourself, what are you good at? What do you know that comes naturally to you? And you don't have to have a catharsis and then write a book about the catharsis and then write a program about the catharsis. So I've read so many books. Oh gosh, I could have written thousands of these things, you know, but it's not my calling to write that book. Does that make sense? It's that person's calling and it's that person's lane. I'm not going to say niche here. It's just that person's lane for where they were at that time and where they are and how it served them until it no longer serves them. And if you watch most people out there coaching with a lot of experience, they will have evolved, you know, so they may not have talked spiritual at first and they do now, or they spoke spiritual and they're now talking finances, you know, because there's this whole place and there's this whole circulation in this circle of life. And the more important part is something you said earlier just came back. When you were sharing nice, kindly, that you know, treat someone how you would like to be treated and then treat them how they like to be treated. I'd invite to not necessarily do that one, because that's an assumption you know how someone wants to be treated because you've learnt the love languages, right? I can tell you I'm all of them. You know, and sometimes I don't want a gift. Sometimes I want that, you know, and who am I to know what it is? If I go down that mental pathway, not saying it's wrong, right? But you've got the right to share how you'd like to be treated, but you actually haven't got the right to think how someone else likes to be treated. And I will say that till the day I die. I haven't got the right to impose my opinion of someone else's life upon them. I just haven't got it. So as a mentor, I'm really clear on that. I might go, so what I'm observing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is da 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 da, right? And have I seen that correctly, or is it a bit different? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I have or haven't. The whole idea is to enrich the environment. So with you and your partner, touch is beautiful, but you don't have to touch. When you actually move further away and recognize, because when someone cries, the worst thing women can do when someone cries is touch the other person. Touch shuts down emotion. When you learn counseling, you are told not to touch a client.
Yeah, that's actually a thing. Like, I had a client the other day that was crying. I won't say any names for privacy and confidentiality. And I didn't touch their hand or anything. I just allowed that and just got them to I just held space, literally didn't do anything to change it, and just held eye contact with them. And I said, at the moment, I'm literally handing you some tissues that I don't currently have. Like, I was making a joke after the release. And then that was able for them to like go full circle and like not just laugh, but also get a resolution to what they were currently experiencing. during the school holidays, because it can be hard for people that are entrepreneurs with kids, and they might not feel safe to express themselves at home. So hence why we have safe spaces for people to express emotions, whether that's laughter, anger, or tears. But it's interesting you said that. It's literally just happened a few days ago.
Any coaches that are watching, there's a really beautiful, now I learned this in leadership years ago. So when people are crying, this is less available online, but you can still do certain things. So if someone's quite agitated, you sort of, if you're in a group, so you're sitting you've got a workshop happening, you're in the front of the group and someone's sharing, and you can feel that they're being agitated or tears, you actually rub your arm at the speed that they're breathing and they're crying, and then you slow it down. And you bring, so we use this, I've done it with my children all their life, right? And you just slow it down to the point that they start getting calmer. No words are needed. So you're using energy and you're matching them, but you're not, you're not speeding up on the inside, by the way, right? Because otherwise you are matching them, and all you can do is create a big mess. But you're energetically just being with them, and it's really, and it can be just the thumb, like they'll see your hands and you're just moving your thumb.
It's a visual anchor.
It's a visual anchor, so it'll anchor them to it, and then you just slow them down and they just slow down naturally. Okay, because it's not to stop the tears. This is the most important thing, is it is energy, and energy, you know, sometimes you need to wait till a client gets to the point of going, you know, like that. And the minute, and it's just like, yes, there's the out breath, right? You know, so right now that's proper resolution, right? So this slowing someone down is not necessarily proper resolution. It just may be that is needed just for now, and dealt with another time, or when they're still asking the question of going, is there something else you'd like to share further on that? Because they've already come down. And it doesn't always get triggered again because they're linked with you. So the minute you've got your hands still, they don't get triggered again. It's a really powerful, really powerful.
Yeah, it's also, thank you for sharing that. It's actually also related to co-regulation and anchoring in an empowerment of self-regulation, because you're not actually touching the client with their consent, obviously, but we're actually visually doing it, like Jules said, slowing down our breath. And because they're seeing that slowness, you can do it with kids too. So say there's some children that might be, I don't want to say labels such as autism or ADHD, but they might have lots of energy. And so then with that, it's a similar thing, Jules, isn't it? Where if they're tapping or doing something, like then what we do is, as coaches and counselors, we might tap. So they're tapping their pen to annoy the environment, right? They might be tapping really fast and loud because they might feel agitated. So I might start tapping the pen at the same rate that they are. So
your body.
Yeah.
Like you turn it into a whole body rhythm with them.
Yeah.
And
match the mirror, and then slow it down, and they're like, oh, they're doing the same as me. And then, but on a subconscious level, and then I would slow the tap down.
Well, no, it's not necessarily. See, you've got to. If you make it too blanket, because I was very clear that this is in a workshop group, right? I was really clear, right, and still with a one-on-one client. And yes, map it across, give it a go, but always remember that client in front of you, you're talking about a child right then. Child a little bit different to the adults that have already given you cognitive consent. Right? They've come to the workshop, they've already consented, they have a bit of an idea, they might not know fully, you know, and the minute that person's asked a question and is agitated, or even a heckler who's agitated, right? I love hecklers because they can move energy really fast, right? Really fast. And it adds in, and by the way, don't come to my workshops everywhere.
Yeah.
Hecklers, no, you can. I don't mind. I really don't. Because the whole idea is the more that you're able to raise the moment and show how you're able to be with the moment is the most important thing. So I was just sharing that all, like you just said, that co-connection and that ability of being with them with that energy. So it teaches them they're not alone. So you're right, you move with them, but to actually slow him or her down, may not necessarily be the answer right then, right? Because it could frustrate them more. They don't have a cognitive, when they're in that behavior, they haven't got a cognitive expectation going on that you have to be, then they don't operate like that. Whereas the adult that's in a workshop, not even adult, of, you know, a teen who's in the workshop asking that question, that's reached that speed, has this cognitive connection, right? So you would have to connect with him cognitively in some sort of way. Yes, body rhythm, but you will still need to judge, you know, or assess, not judge that person, but gauge is the word I was looking for, G-U-A-G-E, gauge the timing of it, right? Whereas it's actually quite easy to slow a mind and slow an energy when there's already a cognitive exchange that's quite even. Okay, so it's not someone's a guru and someone's not, but they're quite even. So did that help?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Being held is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So that person, even that person's behavior, maybe that they are not their behavior. So that's the most important. And anybody that's been given a label, a child that's been given a label, absolutely has been told they are their behavior, and they've even got a label for it, and they may even have drugs for it. So they would be, you know, the standard. That there's a lot of other information that you'd need, more holistic information, which you would already know as, you know, as the carer or counsellor, whether they're, what medication they're on, and what does that medication do to their body. Does it do something before they eat, after they eat? Are they hydrated? There's so much more that comes into it. But as a workshop facilitator, you still also know those sort of things, right? So before you do certain Q&A, we might go, let's have a break, right? Go hydrate everyone, stretch your legs. Okay, so it's timing is the most important part. Okay, so you know, I remember when my youngest he was probably, I don't know, about 4 or 5, and he was way out there. He just wasn't coming back, right? He was just way out there. And so obviously you're getting down to their level. So when you saw me doing this was me imagining I'm actually looking into the eyes of that person who's doing that behavior. So I wouldn't stand up and do it with them. I'd always be below them, so that one thing that is really weird, so one thing that, and you gauge this with your clients too, does that person feel a bit more empowered because I'm a little bit below them? Or does that scare them because they actually feeling they're not embraced? Or are you a little bit above them? This is when you're working with children, especially.
I prefer being at their eye level.
That's not what you prefer.
But they might not prefer that, actually.
Yeah, see, that's being self-centered as a counsellor, right? So you may have learned a particular protocol and picking up that. So it's not you've said something wrong. It's like, oh gosh, I've been selfish then. So which means that other person is not going to be able to be held well. So you can still say, I'm not necessarily going to enjoy it, but I'll give it a go. Because the minute you see if that is helping, you'll immediately enjoy it. You'll immediately transcended and transformed what you preconceived as you're not going to enjoy it. So you've already projected that you're not going to enjoy it. You've never even done it, right? Right. So that's the most important thing, is to be open and willing to give things a go. Know that they're not going to cause harm. Trust your heart, everyone, right? You know, I had to learn that really, really intensely. My energy's large. My heart is really, really powerful. I didn't realize, you know, when they were young, how, you know, it's really powerful for one particular person, and to expect one particular person to be able to handle it's not fair. It's not fair, you know. Whereas now it's different, right? It used to just blur out, whereas now it's a lot different. So I was saying a bit earlier, pardon me, I'm just backtracking a minute.
That's okay.
So with my son was right out, right? So the ability to know that they're out in imagination, and science will say they're out in their cognitive. Oh, get rid of that, right? Just go down with them. And I looked in his eyes, and all I saw was this monkey, and I went, oh, you're a monkey right now, aren't you? And he went, and his eyes shifted, like I saw the lens shift, and he went, how do you know? It's like, how did you get in there, right? And I said, it doesn't matter. I said, but I need you here right now.
Yeah.
Right? We can play with the monkey later. And he got it and he walked away with me. So
Yeah.
if I had have made that behavior wrong and kept reinforcing that behavior as incorrect, that kid may have got a label. There's
Yeah.
a lot of misdiagnosis around the world
Yeah.
because the behavior has been, the parents have been scared. And people say, would you work with, children? I said, no, I want to work with the parents. Build up parents' strength, build up the relation, build up their own forces. Like, to do natural therapies requires an enormous amount of courage at first.
Yeah.
Right? As you would know, it's slow at first. And we go, oh, it takes too long. I'd rather a Band-Aid, which is what's wrong with society, of course.
Yeah.
I'd rather a Band-Aid and a pill to bypass my brain and take my brain's cognitive function out for that moment, right? So that I can move forward. And anybody who's listening is in severe pain. I'm not talking about you, right? I'm just talking about the first grab, right? And so the first grab, a pill or a headache pill, or the first grab is, a Band-Aid. They're exactly the same thing. They are both Band-Aids. They are temporary, short-term solutions because we are not meeting that moment with what is needed. So, So, hydration. Do I need some more calcium or protein in my brain, which means a carrot or an apple, right? So, and we get those answers fast. We go, oh, I haven't had a drink, which is right now. Oh, I haven't had a drink for a little while,
Yeah, I'll have a drink with you again. And we're in rapport. So just with time, we've probably been on in an hour and 10. However, I keep thinking, did we talk on the 4 other, like you mentioned, spiritual as the highest and the physical as the 4th foundation? I feel like that's plenty of information. Did you want to go into any more detail, or
I could probably circumvent something really quickly, right?
Yeah.
I'm really glad that vibrational kinesiology was my first modality where I switched from left brain science thinking to more holistic practices, because I was able to not get too caught up in the emotion at that point, right? Except recognizing that I didn't have the counselling skills, which is why I embarked on the counselling. I wanted to have bring more capability to clients. So a really, really, really quick, easy rule of thumb. If people goes, oh, is it spiritual? Is it right? The easiest is, if it's on both sides of the body or the whole body, then it's a spiritual protocol. Okay, yes, work on health and diet. Yes, work on removing, like cancer, removing EMFs, putting a bit further away. I leave my phone downstairs over night time, so I just don't use it. I have no technology. Well, it's not true. I do have an iPad, but I always make sure it's 2 feet away or something. But I put no alarms on. I took all digital clocks away. The things about being a certain distance from your PowerPoints from your bed head, all of that sort of thing. That's important, especially when you first start the protocols. Once you do Earthpoint, by the way, and you practice Earthpoint, it doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter, because the whole idea of Earthpoint is, first is the connection. The second is, and this is part of what was coming in as well, the second is your etheric field, right? So the etheric field, people will mistake it as aura, but it's more than that. It's the energy that's around every organ and around every living being. So example, phantom thumb, lose a thumb, but the body still sees it as a whole, perfect.
Yeah.
And so it will still feed that thumb, and there's enough YouTubes to watch, how phantom limbs are felt and things like that. So that's the etheric, right? Working on the etheric. So the more that you can expand that field and that capability, which is what we do with the Earthpoint container. We only have a maximum of 10. I really want it to be very intimate and very powerful together, because it's about being effective, and about it working. So expanding that field. So the whole core of, remember when I said I created it, was about EMF. It was created, the whole original course was created about being grounded and this recognition and sensing energy that's coming in or pushing up against the field. So in other words, EMF are allowed through my field because it's going to happen anyway. And it's happened way before EMF. Like the military forces have had things around us and been, you know, surveilling us forever, right? It's just coming into, it's just coming into supermarket model now. That's all. It's just coming in for more presence. So it's this ability to say, phones, technology needs us. It needs us human to earth itself. Electricity needs human to earth. Anybody knows basic electricity, right? So because we know that, it's going to happen anyway. So rather than going, it's going to, right, my breath, my field's here, right? Rather than having it affect us, we go, all right, you're welcome in my field, but you are not welcome to harm this physical body. You build the strength in that. So in other words, you know, with your partner, sensing the energy between you both. So this is, some people will be talking this as part of what was coming in. One of the threads is torus fields. So you're familiar what a torus field is and toroidal?
No.
So look it up. Most people would be, if anybody's watching, Googling now, right? But essentially it's like a big apple, right? An energy field up out of the head, down, up through the legs, doesn't matter which way it goes, I don't care, in the middle of the system. It's like a donut. So imagine the half the apple, and there's this energy that goes around our systems. So there's this internal energy that goes around us. There's this energy that goes, this is just one being right now that I'm talking about. This is Liz, right? Energy going up and circulating around Liz. It's going internally around Liz. So remember nerve sense that I shared before, the first top 4 senses, the rhythmic.
Central nervous system, nerve, rhythmic.
Right. And the energy that goes from the heart's coherence to the other person. Right. So there's this, now there's an apple around you, there's an apple around me. We might be virtual, but right now I'm sending that. I'm literally got that embracing around you. The earth has the same. Right. So there's all of these little apples, I'd call them apples, right? Because it's a really good, it's a really good analogy, and you'll see the apple in many torus fields. But the more important is, and it's very geometric and it moves, it's not, I just gave a really basic 3 energy systems there, but it moves, and convolutes and does amazing things. In China, where they've created the false sun, right, of a nighttime, or the false, beg your pardon, the false moon, they use, when you see the technology, what they use, it's exactly the same system to create that move. So as soon as you know that, there are times where you go, right, well, the internal's not quite right now. So what you're sending out is not going to be as good, right? But the energy's flowing around us all the time. It's just energy, and it's powerful, it's available at any given time. And to think that it's not happening is just to stick your head in the sand and just go. But it's a really, I would say it's a really nice, for me, probably a mental introduction into our connectedness. So it's an idea to start. You get more alive with it, the more, but that picture and knowing that it's moving energy, which is that whole, pardon me, discussion around why use the head. This is why I said, you know, instead of just thinking it's a good idea, I'm just going to have to just go get a glass of water for a sec.
That's all right. Just while you grab a glass of water.
I picky.
That's all right. So it all comes back to the foundations. I think if we just sum up everything that Jules is saying, what we're talking about today, it comes back to foundations, right? And comment below. I'll look at the questions or comments if there's any. I've been super present, so I haven't looked at those questions at the moment. And also, we will be talking more about the foundations, and I'll grab some water. Be back.
I'm quite passionate about, like, I love retreats and things like that, and a lot of things that are being offered. I'm quite passionate about people doing the personal work, so that when they go to retreats, they're not there to just offload, right? They're actually treating it as a treat, right? It's like just going to the lolly shop or grabbing a block of chocolate. So it doesn't mean don't do it, but go it with being more powerful intention. And because it's that balance, the masculine, you know, able to deal with stuff as a silo in ourselves, the relationship aspect. Masculine actually knows more about love than the feminine.
I agree.
They might like to hear that, you know.
Men and masculine are very in tune, I think.
Absolutely. I've actually got a no, I won't do it. I was going to say I've got a graphic I made around that. This is very sort of Steiner stuff, and this is our work, balancing the masculine and feminine. So the masculine on a sensory place is very connected with thought, beg your pardon, sense-free thinking. So on a very basic level, I'm not saying that men don't feel, or the masculine in it doesn't feel, but it is in just on its own, it doesn't bring senses into it. So it's just around that thought-free sensing. So whereas, I beg your pardon, I've mixed it up. It's sense-free thinking. So it doesn't include the senses as its first go-to place. It stays in thinking. The feminine is the opposite, right? So masculine love, feminine harmony, which is thought-free sensing. So the women are able to sense the all, okay? And to actually have no feminine connection and only be left brain. So you can have a baby, but you're parking the baby all the time. I'm not knocking baby being parked, and I'm saying it like that because the women who know what I'm saying mean that. It's not knocking women doing it, but a woman who's connected with the feminine won't just park the baby. They'll recognize when they take the baby, they're with the baby and they're able to be present rather than saying, oh, I'm late for work, I've got a board meeting, right?
Yeah.
I'm known for being
that baby's coming with me to the lives.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of people who haven't had babies said, oh, I can't wait for you to, can you please be our auntie?
Yeah,
why not, right? So because I've done lots of walks and lots of people would, help women through different capability building as a mum. I'm quite passionate about raising the feminine. This is not about knocking men. This is raising the feminine and the feminine often says it needs to be heard, and that's connected a lot with the healing protocols, which is that transformational place. Now, the transcendental place is our work is incarnating the feminine. So the feminine actually has its sovereignty on earth. It's not fighting for its place. I'm very comfortable with my femininity, far more than I was, when I was this peachy, beautiful, well, not so beautiful, but looked good in a bikini, so to speak, right? And I asked myself a long time ago, what does it mean to be feminine? Not what the world means, what the world think it is. Someone's going to tell me. What does it mean to me, right? What does it mean? And what am I, and so that place of interior, and I invite men and women, like no matter what, because the more that we really get a sense of what the feminine is inside ourselves and the masculine inside ourselves, it's not connected with feelings, not connected with love, not connected with anything. What does it mean? Feel those forces. Feel those forces of, the yin that's quite soft inside ourselves, the yang that's going, right, no, I've made a decision and I'm quite clear. But at the same time as going, and at the same time, this is my hands open again, at the same time going, but I'm open to not being correct, right? If there's more information or something you'd want to share, please share it with me. That's that ability to say, well, this is a clarity. The left brain's really good at clarity. So most of my clients have been men for a really long time, and women are starting to come on board now. And because it's time, timing's arrived. And one of the reasons I used to work with men a lot, and a lot of executives, is because when they get it, and executives are quite heart-based.
Yeah, they are.
No matter what people say, they are very heart-based. Good leaders are. Totally. They know that it's a family. They get all that stuff. And it's because when they get it, when the masculine gets it, they just do it. Right. If they're told to go away and sit with their wife and deal with their feelings, they'll actually go home and say, Julie, Tom, I've got to sit with you, and it'll feel awkward, and then they'll do it. Right. So, and that's the difference. Whereas women will fight it. Tooth and nail.
They take like 3 or 4 weeks, whereas men are like, we're good to rock. You're like, sweet as, let's do this. It's like complete differences. And women that are really deep in processing themselves, because I'm processing stuff. No, it's not. Right? It's because you're avoiding being present to the fear that it's scaring you at that moment. Because
And the masculine has had to develop that, you know, that's innate in that testosterone, that innate protector and provider that had to face the what do you call it, saber-toothed tiger, right? It had to face it and not eat for a really, really, really long time and still hunt, not having food in their belly, right? So it's innate in that masculine. We carry those forces inside us as women as well, right? So to understand that force that is deeper in the lower chakras of the masculine, and to make the masculine have to live in feelings is not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah. We all have our strengths.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And men actually have higher testosterone levels than women. We've got more estrogen. So it's actual science behind it as well. It's not just woo-woo masculine, feminine energy. It's not just science of left brain, analytics, data, measurements, purpose, the what, or right brain, feelings, creation. It's what I feel here and thinking as well, Jules. It's about bringing them together and saying, hey, like, I'm thinking this and I think that it's right. However, I'm open to hearing my team. I'm open to listening to my wife or my husband and my children right now, because that's going to help reduce the arguments or the tension of the energy in the room.
Yeah, and one is, totally. And one is the silo model, the I am an island model, right? And the other is the oxytocin model, right? Not that we need all of it, right? Sometimes we will be able to do it. Like, I'll give you a really live example where I was aware that there was this not story, so it wasn't necessarily a story. This energy was connected to a fear around something we were doing in our business. So I needed to do something in the business, right? Something to do about promotional. So, and it just was like a rock. So I just rang up my business partner, who's a man, right? And he's done the work, of course, who's very feeling, just say that. So we had to work to stop him automatically going to feelings, you know, my needs, but I need this, right? We had to stop that, because the needs, the old Maslow hierarchy of needs, keeps us oppressed. Underneath those needs is the true power, is the true calling and the true capability. And it's so filled with warmth. It is so filled with this giant love of light. And it's not foreign to us. We actually know it. So, as I said, I won't make it wrong, just saying it gets in the way. So I rang him up. So I was aware it was in my way, right? But it wasn't just my way, it was in our way. And if it's in our way, it's in everyone's way, right? Humanity's not going forward if each one of us aren't going forward.
It's all interrelated, it's all interconnected. Your business, your relationships, your health, it's all interconnected. Sorry for interrupting, please continue.
No, keep going. No, you're right. But that's the feminine conversation. So you know, I agree with talking stick model. I agree with the circle, but the feminine conversation isn't talking stick. And I've been in a lot of boardrooms where it's creative and we're talking over each other. And then there's a bit of an argument and then there's not, because it's meant to be, it's juice, right? It's energy building. So, we went talking over then. Where was I going?
With your co-partner, he was in the and you're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right. Okay, so even what I just did, here's an example. A left brain transformation model go, ooh, I've forgotten. She's, I'm old, right? Some silly nonsense. Whereas the right brain goes, we're in this together. We're both listening and we're both hearing and we're both co-creating. So you may remember something that I'm not remembering. Well, I admitted I wasn't remembering. So I rang the business partner. I said, hey, can you help me out with something here? Which is how I usually say. I said, you know, there's and then I didn't say an energy block, but it's whatever's going on. And I know it's connected with fear and finances. And I know it's in the way. And I said, are you, it was about a date, by the way. I said, are you about nervous about doing this? And he went, no. I said, awesome. And then, so it's not me going, oh, I'm right, he's not, right? These are my feelings. I just went, awesome, right? If he's not, I want what you have, right? Which is why I picked up the phone, right? To assume because I'm heavy, he's going to be heavy. It's not healthy. So, and then he added, he said, oh, well, I spoke to someone on Sunday. He hadn't communicated that, right? And I'm okay with that. But the minute I went, oh, that's great. That's what I needed to hear. got off the phone and and off I did and off I went, right?
Yeah.
So it's the ability to articulate it. So, and you're not always good at that at first. So spend too much time analysing it. And hey, anybody who knows me for a long time will know I did a lot of analysing, a lot of figuring out of my head, you know. And the longer you do that, sometimes it's dangerous, because
it can be
it's not easy to get out.
It can cause worry, and then people stay up at night, and I don't want to say men, but if women as well, but if they've got a problem that they're trying to solve, they might be repressing it and thinking over and over and over and saying on the computer, because the computer's going to solve that problem, or Google's going to solve that problem. And I'm just going to talk to myself out loud about it, because I don't have a problem. I won't go see a therapist or a naturopath or a coach, because hey, that's too fucking scary. And I don't want to be seen as not a man or not a woman. It's like, you're still a man. You're more of a fucking man for the fact of yourself, for you being vulnerable and open to opening your heart up.
Yeah. And if the language of the heart is a little bit scary to hear, just say open up your spirit, just open up. You know, they're okay with that. Sometimes it could be just the language you use or something like that, right? Which they'll get used to, because you shouldn't have to adopt, pardon me using the word should, adopting the language that speaks between each other is really, really powerful. And that's what's coming through more and more, is this ownership over it's my language and your language. And hey, remember that I've come from the world of IP, you know, in that world, that has to, you know, mixing of music change that. You know, rapping and mixing of music change that. The way, hang on, that's someone else's song. I own that. You know, they own that song. So, you know, the same quality that is in the music, the development of music is, I just thought of one of those threads, by the way, is you know, ushers itself in. So I'll bring the thread, okay? The thread, one of the threads remember we're talking about pointing fingers and expectations, or even just wishing something from someone else or judging someone else.
Expectations, judgment, assumptions, like all the things.
So, and as you know, you did the beautiful Bible quote about the plank.
The plank.
The plank coming, right, in the eye. And I love how it says plank. It didn't say a splinter. So it's not a little splinter. It's like a Mack truck, right? So when we point, I've got to put the thumb down for a minute. There are 3 pointing back, right? 3 pointing back always. It's a very old personal development model, and it works. And as long as we know that, so it means it's amplified 3 times coming back at us. So I can help people speed up an energy who already knows that. Is the work we do is we go give it attention. But give it reverence. We call it RAS, not the sleep RAS.
Not the RAS.
Not rapid. Reverence, attention, and song. Right. So you give reverence to the moment. You give reverence. So say, for example, you're saying in relationship, you did this to me, and then you go, pardon me. That's reverence, right? Pardon me. So it's not saying, it's just like giving permission to say, hang on, recognized I'm blaming, right? And so, right, I'm blaming, pardon me, that's reverence. If you've got the skills, you say, look, just give me a moment. So giving attention to yourself and the space to let that anger circulate. It's just energy, it will settle. Just settle in your being. And then, you know, this whole let go and let God model, right? So we're giving attention to the value that lays, but when we go, you did this to me, we're actually saying, no, we did it to ourselves, which we know that we're creating and co-creating. But more importantly, we've forgotten what lays between you. Which is my suggestion of pulling your hands back and know that your partner's not nurturing you and you're not nurturing the partner, right? You're giving value to this amazing energy field, right? You're giving value to the love that lays between you. And you co-create language from that place. And it's the best word we can come up with at the moment is called usness, because it's not yours to own. Right? And which the old, the emotional model goes, oh, but it's our relationship, it's our love language, it's ours, and that's dangerous for long term, right? It's not healthy for long term. So the recognition that language is presenting, and it's beautiful language, and it's beautiful that you're able to build upon that and able to, once again, I learned that from a situation with my son. I snapped at him. He asked me very politely, was interrupting. It is so polite. And I went, well, actually like this, I didn't use that word, but I snapped. And immediately I just saw this annihilation of love, right? And he's really good at going, don't worry about it. And I said, no, pardon me. I just said, I'm so sorry. What did I say? I didn't value the love that lays between us. And the minute I heard that, I went, that's where the beauty is. That's where the gold, that's where the heart lays. It doesn't lay in us, doesn't lay in you, doesn't lay in me. It lays in between this beautiful offering and sharing that you and I are having today. We have you might, but I have no idea who's listening to this.
Oh, I haven't checked. I've been really present.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It doesn't matter, because anybody who ever gets to see this, and even if it's just ourselves, because it's being recorded, so we get to have a memory of it. Right? And we're building up this beautiful coherence and love forces, and while we're doing it and other people are doing it, then there's more richness happening in the world, and we're co-creating a humanity that is more mature and healthier.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was on a what do you call it, summit, Global Unity Summit, just before Christmas as one of the panelists. And
congratulations again.
Thank you. Yeah. And one of the things, and it's about love, about love in the space and love inside leadership and things like that. And what was I going to say about the summit?
The love in the space.
No, it'll come back. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. Okay, I will say thank you, because what I wanted to, my mind went, I'm going to acknowledge this right now. Yeah. My mind went because I resisted that compliment.
Oh.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So even if what I was going to say doesn't come back, the gold that anybody sees, this is the moment, which is what I was saying. Doesn't matter if someone is watching it. We've got this rich buildness of this energy that's building up around us. It'll enrich the work you do going forward. This is going to enrich the work I do going forward. And what an awesome blessing that is.
That is an awesome blessing. How would you like to tie it up? How can we work with you? How can we also tap into balancing masculine and feminine energy as well to complete our call?
So you have to come and do Earthpoint.
yeah, which is
So there'll be another one in another few weeks. So I'll share it with you, Liz, and you can share it with whoever. We'll see it on Facebook. I'm not necessarily on Facebook all the time.
Okay.
I'm a real big value of quantity. It's not quantity, quality. Yeah. So Facebook is really just for those. It's the quality connection. Everybody on right, friends with on Facebook, there's a quality connection, but the recognition that that's not our go-to. Okay, that's not our focus and our go-to. So our connection is this ability to start being more connective outside of social media, so that this recognition that social media is a tool and that's it. It's not serve our emotions, it doesn't serve the moment. You asked a question, so Earthpoint. The people, I beg your pardon, you can actually, if you want to know a little bit about our mentoring, our website, we put a testimonial up the other day. The website is www. It's really simple. Our Natural Gifts. GIFTS.com. And the website does not operate like a normal website where it'll tell you all of everything we do and this is the steps you have to go through.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yes, like our
it's stuff everywhere. And so I actually put an audio up that says, this is what our website will do and will not do. You're invited to play and make inquiries about whatever. But there's a really nice video up there of Earthpoint will be the information over the next, might even be by tomorrow afternoon, actually.
Yeah.
When the next one is. Making it really affordable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because our mentoring pricing is usually, quite a healthy price.
Yeah.
So they get, with Earthpoint, they actually get not a one-on-one, well, it is a one-on-one. I contact everybody personally and talk about, there's a preparation to get to Earthpoint that's connected to the time, not the date and time, but the area that you lived in. I connect people to geography. I connect people to the earth and to the planet. So, so get a bit with me. Then we do one session, which is the whole practice. And so people will be arriving. It's a small, a maximum of 10 people plus Steve and myself. And the idea is the recognition that we learn as individuals to start off with. It's a container and we hold that container for about 3 weeks together. And we practice our own individual of what we're going to do with it and what we haven't done with it, come back 2 weeks later, and then we expand the field. So I teach more on how to expand the field. And it will actually go online as a course eventually, but it's more powerful because you get me, you get me and Steve, in those places, in three personal contacts. So that'll be online on our natural gifts as well.
So Steve's your co-partner, is that?
So Steve Smith. Yeah.
I know that name.
I've
heard of that name out there. Okay, anyway.
You'll never see it on social media. He can never be on any social media whatsoever. So and the recognition, no, I won't go into that. So something that I as a finish, that's the question, how to finish, is the goal of all of our work is out-breath. So the whole idea is that we are always consciously breathing out longer than what we're breathing in. And when you get a really healthy practice of that, even if you only do it 3 times a day, 3 times a day, that's enough to start your immune system. But more importantly, the basis foundation that everything we do is this out-breath. So Earthpoint gets activated from a deeper place of that connection with universe, someone's God source. So the connection as above, as below, as within, so without, right? So we really enrich that space. So I would like to invite, 2 or 3 breaths where we are counting into 4. You can lead it if you want, or I can lead it. I don't mind.
I'd love you to lead it.
Thank you. I won't, it's not box breathing. So just I'll make this really clear. It's not in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. It's literally just in for 4, hold for 2, 3, 4. I'll count it anyway, but out for about 6. My mother died constantly getting pneumonia. The doctor said people do not breathe out, empty their lungs well enough. How do you do that? He says, breathe out. Simple. She just had crud at the bottom of her lungs, like silt in a river, but that's a healthy ecosystem. A really unhealthy ecosystem. So it was always bacterial, not viral. Always she would get back to a bacterial virus and get pneumonia in the bottom of her lungs. So it's really, really simple. Smokers learning to do that. And and it's anybody who's a smoker, I won't knock you smoking. I was a smoker for a really long time. If you're going to smoke, enjoy it. Just get rid of any rhetoric in your head. If you're not going to smoke, don't smoke, right? You learn to make it really, really clear. The addiction does need to be dealt with, but make it clear. But what I recognize before I went through the pathway of releasing that from my system is I burnt cigarettes. I literally burnt a packet like this and went, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then I remembered is because I'd loved this.
Oh, the breathing out, like what a sign.
Really long, absolutely. A relief.
Stress response. A
A
relief.
stress response. Okay. So when you learn to breathe out, not as a stress response, but literally as a way of being. When you develop this longer out breathing as a way of being, you will naturally slow down, temperature change, your relationship with nature changes, but you will increase your stillness thousandfold.
And it's conscious breathing, isn't it?
It's very conscious breathing, but eventually it becomes an unconscious competence. I'm not able to go to breathing workshops at all anymore because they're just too fast for me. I'm so slow. And I learned this recently. I'd like to say this to some people who are going to breathing because it's become really fast. So part of me doing this before we close,
That's okay. That's okay.
I really want to add this for people who have moved on from mouth breathing and do this, enlarging the belly, building up yoga breath, right? In here, further in the back, long out breath. People who've been practicing this for a really long time do not go to yoga workshops and do the normal breathing. They'll be too fast. And what actually happens, because I experienced it, is chi starts to release in your body. I got so cold so fast, and I recognized chi's actually now releasing because I was going at this speed and I was going, and doing this. I went, whoa. So fortunately, you can do it, yoga mudra, doesn't matter which fingers you use, and put your feet flat together and recreate the circuit. That was my kinesiology coming back, recreate the circuit. So a yoga breath, Pilates is often out breath, right, through your mouth. But a yoga breath, we hold fingers together, right? Feet on the floor or whatever, or you're laying down or legs crossed or whatever. It's a circuit. It's designed as a circuit. We are circuitry, pipes and circuits, right? So I'm not saying any's right or wrong, but anybody who's done breathing for a really long time, I know you might want connection at birth workshops, but I encourage you to be warned. I warn you, if you're going to do it, it may be too fast for you because you've learned to slow your system down.
Yeah.
And health and well-being is about slowing your system down. It's easy as you get older, because your mind's not filled. But my mind's like a 30-year-old, without a doubt. I'm filled with vitality. And but the ability to, because of that out breath, my mind empties every single out breath.
I think I need to do more of that, actually. Maybe more breath.
You'd love Earthpoint. You'd love Earthpoint.
Yeah.
So, and there'll be videos because we're doing editing now of how people have used them, right? Also before the second session and after. Oh, it's actually on there's a YouTube channel which hasn't got very many videos on, by the way, but called Our Playful Planet. And there is actually a 2-minute Earthpoint video there, where Vic has explained what it was like for her. And she did that after the first session.
Yeah, nice.
They come into the second session, and where someone is at the beginning of the second session and where they are at the end of the second session. It's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I don't tell people what to do inside Earthpoint, by the way. Okay. This is your place. There are certain things about it we don't share, and not because we can't. It's just not necessary, and it's not necessary. So it's a powerful place. It's really, really, well, as I said, it was my place of source that I recognized that's where my immune system is, why I sailed through menopause, just sailed through it, because I understood the circulation of energy. I understood I was connected with the body. When the heat comes through, this might be relevant for you, not menopause, but heat, as it comes through, I channeled it through my hands. And I went, oh, what a waste of all this healing energy. And it poured out like funnels, right? It just poured out of me. But I wasn't losing chi because it's not coming from my heart, right? It's just this excess energy that just didn't need to be there. And I wasn't going, oh, so it wasn't going all over my being. It was just channeling out until its energy, it comes to an end and it stops. And you just go, done, right? But I still said it was a waste of healing energy, and I'm actually going to work with that. I'm writing an article at the moment about value of menopause for helping a healing planet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to please share all of the.
I will. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
If it's okay, I'd like our thank yous before it's a really lovely, it's Donna community and school communities do this. So rather than saying thank you and then leave, I'd like to say our thank yous now, so that when we finish our second out breath, we leave quietly. And it's a really lovely way to leave in presence.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just at first connect with where your breath is now. And more importantly, you've heard us just discussing where the out breath, the focus on the out breath. It's not about the speed or the timing just now. It's just aware of there is an out breath. Because our attention, mental attention tends to go with the in breath. So there is an out breath. And just for now, be aware of where the breath comes to rest. We won't do any further than that. That's part of our work at another time. But just be aware for now. And with full gratitude of Liz inviting me on and having the opportunity for us to have this beautiful sharing and glowing and growing together and having pause. This moment is a pause moment. So breathing in, 2, 3, filling up lungs and into your back. Hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take a moment. You might have a normal little breath in there. And one more as a farewell with deep, deep gratitude. Yeah. In. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3,